Rachel Zegler, once hyped as the fresh, unstoppable force behind Disney's live-action Snow White, now finds herself under a harsh spotlight.
You can tell, a cisgender man, he can't be the savior here. You got to have Rachel Zegler front and center. So it's really torturous at that point. It's one of the weakest parts of the movie.
And she also attacked Twitter and Elon and finished it all with Donald Trump. It's one of the reasons why she's not like the ideal choice for the lead role in Sweet Snow White, and why many people are still, not to mention all the terrible things she said.
These super liberal, pro-abortion women like Rachel Zegler, they're always single and alone. I'm like, I think you're safe, actually. I think you're fine. You know what I'm saying? So
most of the women saying like, I'm putting on the chastity belt. It's like, you're good. You don't.
You've got purple hair and 10 nose rings. You're good.
I love her, and her superpower is her heart. It's nothing supernatural. It's something that all of us have. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy Snow White. Thank you, guys.
But is she not seen as box office poison now because of all of her antics?
It's kind of a
Humiliated and allegedly sidelined for the 2026 reboot. If you've been off social media for even a second, you might have missed the avalanche of rumors. Disney is rumored to be recalibrating its entire Snow White franchise after abysmal first-week box office numbers. Some folks on fan forums claim the movie's losses are so disastrous, Disney barely blinked before throwing in the towel.
What merit is, because they get paid whether they succeed or...
In this swirling chaos, one name stands out like a lightning bolt: Brett Cooper, the rumored new Snow White that many believe Disney latched onto in a desperate bid to salvage a battered brand. Online conversations are raging. Conspiracy theories are running wild. And
Snow White is coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town.
While the studio remains suspiciously tight-lipped, a flurry of alleged leaks, furious social media posts, and half-baked press statements are painting a vivid picture of a meltdown behind closed doors. Observers are calling this entire ordeal a complete catastrophe for Rachel Zegler's once rising star. Others are convinced it's a corporate betrayal of a leading lady who did her best in a sinking ship. No matter which side you're on, the drama is undeniable, from rumors of cutthroat backstage politics to the abrupt pivot toward Brett Cooper. This script dives headlong into the swirling mania.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap.
Pulling back the curtain on whispered manipulations, speculations of meltdown voicemails, and the relentless, unvarnished chatter that Disney might be trying to bury. Because in Hollywood, nothing is ever quite as it seems, and this fiasco stands out as the year's most flaming example of how quickly a star can rise and fall when big money, big egos, and big rumors collide. The story starts with the opening week's ticket sales, and it's not pretty. Some are calling it one of Disney's largest missteps in decades. Industry trackers allegedly reported that by Friday night,
it was a wholesome family film, and now they've turned it into woke trash. Check this out from Wokeness. Disney's Snow White said that harm should befall Trump and his voters. Do not see this film.
Certain theaters were barely half full. Then came the weekend totals, which landed well below projections. Insiders claim the movie's marketing budget soared into the stratosphere. Billboards, merch tie-ins, flashy interviews. Yet actual attendance at the theaters was dismal. It's the kind of painful discrepancy that sends studio executives into full panic mode. If rumor is to be believed,
no peace. So she's basically a violent, hysterical lunatic who wants to kill babies. She's very concerned that her daughter will have to give birth to a child, which generally grandmothers think is a fantastic thing for their daughters. I don't think Trump is doing any forced impregnation.
The film's entire pitch hinged on Rachel's wide-eyed charm. She was supposed to be the unstoppable selling point, especially after her involvement in earlier musicals that garnered critical praise. But the harsh reality, audiences apparently weren't moved. Some fans said on social media that the promo materials felt contrived or too try-hard. Others voiced confusion about the movie's tone.
According to reports, Gal and Rachel got along during filming. It's afterwards that things...
Is it a faithful retelling, a modern twist, or an awkward blend of both? Word traveling through various entertainment blogs suggests Disney accountants started crunching numbers immediately, and the results spelled doom for the project. By the end of opening weekend, the initial figures fell so short that it triggered what an unnamed source described as one of the most urgent crisis meetings ever. Allegedly, execs had bet big on the film dominating the family demographic.
And then she gives her a comb that poisons her because that's the temptation towards narcissism.
Raking in money over several weeks. Instead, they faced a bleak reality that threatened to overshadow the entire brand. Fans defending Rachel argue this fiasco wasn't her fault, claiming that Disney simply mishandled the entire concept. But others are convinced that she herself.
And then she feeds her a poisoned apple, which is exactly what the harpy ideologues are doing to young women to destabilize their identity and to push them off the reproductive track.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, "Yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her."
Might share the blame, allegedly for not connecting with audiences and possibly for alienating potential moviegoers with repeated controversies on social media. Regardless, it seems that once those final ticket sale numbers arrived, there was no going back. And if you thought the box office disaster alone was enough for a scandal, just wait, because the next development made the initial losses look tame.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
I think it's fair to say,
Number 2 is the aftermath of the underwhelming box office results. Stories of Rachel Zegler's private breakdown began to surface. Supposed studio insiders whispered about dramatic phone calls at odd hours. One particularly scandalous rumor states that she left several heated voicemails on a top executive's phone, essentially blaming everyone under the sun. From the marketing,
that no one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
She is a PR nightmare. I don't know how anyone would hire her.
I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over. I'd be thrilled to see that, like on camera or to magazines. Behind the scenes, you guys know as well as I do that those executives like Spielberg are looking at that saying, Rachel Zegler can F right off.
Team for neglecting the film to the production crew for not giving enough flair. Some accounts claim these voicemails were laced with borderline desperation, suggesting she felt cornered and betrayed. A handful of alleged crew members began spilling about her intense mood swings on set. They described her as professional on camera, but at times confrontational off it. Another rumor suggests that Rachel had demanded last-minute script tweaks.
A side story where she said she claims that the white executives on that movie made her prove her Latina heritage. There's confusion because I don't have a single ounce of Latin in my name.
To center the story more heavily on her personal brand or political stances, an approach that apparently clashed with Disney's family-friendly image. The meltdown is said to have escalated once she realized the public was largely unmoved by these changes. Twitter and other social media platforms soon erupted with screenshots, none fully confirmed, of conversations that supposedly featured Rachel's name. In some of these screen caps, she appeared to vent frustration about co-stars overshadowing her or about interviews that didn't put her front and center. Skeptics quickly labeled these screenshots fabrications, but they fueled the rumor. The overarching impression was that a star once lauded for her positivity had slipped into crisis mode, pointing fingers at every direction. Allegedly, one anonymous insider from the Disney camp put it bluntly, Rachel thought this movie was her golden ticket, and she refused to accept the reality that audiences just weren't having it. Whether you buy that statement or not, it's clear that the meltdown narrative has caught fire. Some fans empathize, saying they'd flip out too if a massive studio left them hanging. Others feel it's a sign of a too big ego crumbling under real-world pressure. But the meltdown itself, dramatic as it may be, laid the foundation for an even darker series of allegations. One that painted Rachel as far more than just an anxious star in a tough situation. Whispers soon turned into roars about a supposed manipulative streak behind Rachel's well-crafted public image. People who have observed her polished interviews, gracious smiles, and confident stage presence are now insisting there's a second side, a cunning behind-the-scenes operator who might have misused her influence to maintain a squeaky clean. Reputation. Rumored leaked audio from production offices, though never officially verified, allegedly captures a voice identified as Rachel discussing ways to spin media stories in her favor. The person in the recording is said to have no patience for castmates overshadowing her. She's rumored to label anyone who disagrees with her direction as hopelessly off-brand. If this audio is genuine, and that remains a big question. Mark. It offers a stark contrast to the princess-like veneer fans have adored. These rumors accelerated as more individuals stepped forward. Again, often anonymously, claiming that behind closed doors, Rachel has a knack for making people feel obligated to do her bidding. Whether it's production staff or lesser-known co-stars, the tales point to behind-the-curtain strategies, forcing script changes, orchestrating PR spin, and in some extreme accounts, belittling crew members to maintain control. One particular alleged anecdote includes an email chain in which Rachel demanded certain scenes focus solely on her signature expressions for that unstoppable social media moment. Though many argue all top actors wield some level of influence, the manipulative angle here is that she leveraged it not merely to enhance the film, but to overshadow everyone else in it. Critics of these rumors label them baseless. They call it a typical attempt to knock down a rising star. But those who believe the rumors suggest a pattern of behavior. Rachel apparently thrived on controlling the narrative until it spun beyond her reach. If fans and Disney staff alike were already taken aback by these alleged manipulations, the next development came like a thunderclap, one that spelled doom for Rachel standing at the studio. In the midst of all the swirling drama, the name Brett Cooper suddenly catapulted onto everyone's timeline. Word began circulating that Disney executives had met in urgent sessions, analyzing possible next steps. While some pitched going dark on all Snow White talk, others insisted a fresh reboot was the only way to salvage both the narrative and Disney's battered reputation. Brett Cooper, an emerging personality with a strong online following, apparently fit the bill. She's known for a commanding presence and a more grounded style. Exactly what Disney might need if they intend to reinvent Snow White as a modern figure who resonates across different generations. Reports claim that within days of the catastrophic box office numbers, Brett was being contacted, vetted, and all but announced as the new star of a 2026 reboot. Online reaction was swift and intense. Some fans championed the idea, praising Disney for making a bold pivot and shaking up the formula that had arguably grown stale. Others labeled the move disloyal, condemning the studio for tossing aside the actress they once paraded as the next big thing. More conspiratorial corners of the internet even suspect that Disney orchestrated the entire meltdown story to pave the way for Brett, using Rachel as a convenient scapegoat. Even celebrities seemed divided. One rumor suggests a handful of A-listers privately reached out to Brett to offer advice and moral support, describing the transition as brutal but necessary. Meanwhile, Rachel loyalists fired back on social media, bashing Disney for betraying the actress and implying that the meltdown narrative was engineered to justify recasting. As for Brett Cooper, she's remained coy and gracious, refusing to fan the flames, which ironically only heightens the public's curiosity about whether she'll truly be the new face of Snow White. But if you thought the shockwaves ended there, the reaction within Hollywood's tight-knit circles was even more dramatic, and it exposed just how precarious loyalty can be in Tinseltown. Hollywood is notorious for its fickle alliances, and the rumored meltdown around Rachel Zegler provided a glaring example of how quickly alliances can crumble. One day, fellow actors and industry insiders are retweeting her promotional clips with excited emojis. The next, they're conspicuously silent or even subtly distancing themselves from her. For those who cling to the belief in unconditional friendship among celebrities, the rumored behind-the-scenes shifts are a cold wake-up call. Stories abound of Rachel reaching out to certain big-name stars for public support to quell the negativity, swirling around her meltdown rumors, only to be met with half-hearted PR statements or total radio silence. Meanwhile, a wave of well-wishers appears to have flooded Brett Cooper's inbox, allegedly congratulating her for landing a role that could be career-defining. The overarching narrative is that some folks smelled trouble brewing around the Snow White fiasco and decided it was safer to stand behind the fresh face of Disney's do-over. Even more startling is the claim that some of Rachel's own inner circle pivoted toward Brett. Whether for professional gain or moral conviction remains a hot topic. The suggestion is that in Hollywood, it's all about being on the winning side, alleged meltdown or not. Numerous fans blame the industry's tendency to chase whatever is trending, condemning these turncoats as opportunists. Others note that supporting Rachel could be a risky gamble for any actor worried about being cast in future Disney projects. Observers have questioned if there's been a private campaign to discredit Rachel further, possibly orchestrated by those with a stake in the reboot's success. Conspiracies swirl around the possibility that certain individuals within the studio, or even in competing circles, might be feeding the meltdown story to the press to ensure no one doubts the decision to replace her. True or not, the rift forming among celebrities only intensifies the sense that Rachel is facing a monumental uphill battle if she hopes to reclaim any goodwill within the industry. But as the dust settled in Hollywood's social circles, Disney itself took a bold public stance, one that left no doubt about the direction they planned to pursue next. In a move that felt both abrupt and monumental, Disney allegedly made it clear a 2026 Snow White reboot is happening, and Brett Cooper is set to be the star attraction. While the studio hasn't unleashed a massive press release with all the bells and whistles, rumors suggest that internal memos point to an entirely new creative team, an entirely new vision, and a promise that the fiasco of 2023 will never be repeated. Any illusions that Rachel might return to salvage her role vanished the moment these confirmations began circulating. Some industry experts interpret this as Disney doing damage control, wanting to reassure shareholders and fans that they aren't letting one flop devastate the brand. By announcing the reboot now, they're presumably trying to reclaim the narrative before more negative headlines about the meltdown overshadow everything. But the reaction from fans runs the gamut. Traditionalists argue that Disney is moving too fast, stating they should have resolved the original film's issues or waited for the dust to settle. Others are ecstatic, believing that this reboot could be the perfect second chance at a live-action Snow White done right. Social media exploded with praise for Brett's rumored involvement, with hashtags celebrating what some call her more grounded approach. Meanwhile, Rachel supporters remain vocal, insisting this is an unjust scapegoating by a studio looking for an easy fix. Regardless, the official nature of Disney's pivot underscores one undeniable fact. The House of Mouse has no patience for holding onto a faltering project or a star entangled in controversy. Whether you consider it harsh corporate pragmatism or a necessary business move, the finality resonates loudly across the entire entertainment world. Yet, while the studio's stance may be set in stone, Rachel's personal story still hangs in the balance, and her next steps could shape whether she fades into obscurity or fights to resurrect her name. Will the recasting fix the damage? Or is this entire fiasco a sign that audiences are tired of formulaic reimaginings and sanitized PR images? While some accuse Disney of deserting Rachel at the first sign of trouble, others say it's just business. She didn't deliver, and the numbers, as they say, do not lie. Regardless, the end result is a fiasco that forever ties Rachel's name to a moment of intense public scrutiny and possible betrayal by an industry known for smiling to your face while plotting your replacement. Nemostrido. The end, Hollywood thrives on these controversies. Illusions, manipulations, and high-stakes gambles that can make or break a star in a heartbeat. The only certainty here is that the Meltdown saga has left a permanent mark on the modern fairy tale, reminding us that when big budgets, massive egos, and a demanding public collide, no one is safe from a humiliating fall from grace. And if there's one lesson Disney fans have learned lately, it's that sometimes the greatest fairy tales are overshadowed by the real-life drama unfolding behind the scenes.